welcome to today's episode on cybersecurity. I'm so delighted to be joined today by CEO of Cytelligence, Daniel Tobok. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Daniel is an internationally recognized cybersecurity expert and digital forensics expert with more than 20 years of hands-on experience in all facets of cyber intrusions and digital investigations. Daniel, you've been a source of inspiration for many of us in the industry. We would love to hear more about your career journey.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me on. Very excited to be here. When I look back at my career, it's definitely been very interesting. It's, my initial start was not in technology or in cyber forensics. It was really into hosting and infrastructures and securing infrastructures for both government organizations and municipalities. And it was really in 1998 where I experienced firsthand what I call a client breach. It's not long ago. It was very interesting times in 98. I actually had hair and it was long. And, we were all new into this. Nobody really knew what happened. But that's really when it all started. And then from 98, I pivoted directly into forensic investigations and security consulting, really understanding what are the threat actors out there are doing from a malicious point of view. I went through a couple different iterations in my career and, founded a company called Digital Wisdom. And Digital Wisdom by 2013 became one of the largest independent private forensic companies in Canada. We were acquired by TELUS Communications in 2013. I spent a couple of years running TELUS Security, and then it was time for a bit of a change, and I went on and started Cytelligence. And Cytelligence by 2020 was one of the largest private incident response and forensics company in Canada. And in February of this year, we were acquired by Aon, which is one of the world's largest insurance brokers.
Yes, I saw the news. Yeah, it's truly an inspirational journey for people who are in cybersecurity and who are making a move in this field. And if we look at your on the career side, you have worked in different verticals and you have hands-on experience in almost all phases of cyber intrusions and hacking incidents, as well as digital investigation, which includes theft of IP, intellectual property, confidentiality, and competitive information. So what do you think, what is the hidden cost of IP breach and the loss of intellectual property?
So that's a great question. What most organizations don't understand is that when they get breached, it's not just a matter of inconvenience, right? Or it's not just a matter of what data was exfiltrated, because what the bad guys are doing today, and I always say, the landscape of the bad guys has really changed. It's no longer a bunch of kids sitting in mommy's and daddy's basement trying to hack away for some free pizza, right? Or some phone calls for long distance. The bad guys today are really looking for data, right? They're looking for data. They're looking a way to monetize their time. The hidden cost is, when the customers understand, it's first of all reputational. Reputational damage is one of the biggest emerging damages today after a breach, right? After an incident. And, there's the reputational damage that is costing you money because now your clients are afraid to actually utilize you or be associated with you. Also, bad guys have gone to what I call the shaming route, where they really want to put you to shame out there on their website, and they want to advertise that they hacked you and they have your information. And of course, then comes the actual cost of being attacked. Ransomwares. I mean, we just dealt with a ransomware that was $11 million Canadian. I mean, the ransom payments are getting extremely high, exorbitant. And again, even if you have insurance, sometimes not all of it is covered by it. Yes. So there's some pretty big dollars associated when you actually get breached that companies have to think about.
Yes, and it's a nightmare because, like you said, apart from the expenses that we know, regulatory, public relations, legal fees, and then cost of investigation, the intangible cost that can stretch over months or even years is the brand damage. And you mentioned about cyber insurance. So I would like to share this. So we were looking for a cyber insurance for a building. And the way the language was written, if there is a physical damage to the equipment, it is covered. But like in cyber insurance, it's not the physical damage to the equipment, it's on the
Yeah.
network or on the software side. So these hidden agendas are sometimes making difficult to get the claim, even though we are covered with cyber insurance.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll give you just an example. On average, 68% of organizations that have had a breach are still dealing in remnants of that breach well into the 6 and 9 and 12-month mark post the breach,
Okay.
right? So it's a long affecting, it's a long lasting effect that they have to deal with outside of the repair and the panic. It's almost, we all are kind of used to, seeing, if there's a physical crime, somebody, remembers it, there's, tragic, there's memories, there's thoughts, there's emotions.
Yes.
Those are the same emotions play when you get, cyber attacked, right? It lasts with you forever. There's a feeling of uncertainty in the systems. Are the bad guys out? Were they kicked out? Did they take anything? Are they going to be back? Those are
Yes.
normally one of the first questions that we're asked of our clients once we clear up the mess is, will they be back? Right?
Yes.
And that's always on everybody's mind.
Yes. And we have seen like many types of cyber events, data breaches, security incidents, privacy violations, and these days we have seen an increase in phishing incidents. Like hackers are taking full advantage of the COVID-19 situation, sending so many phishing emails. So of all the cyber incidents, which is by far the most common of all other cyber events?
So today, the biggest, two, what I call vector attacks, or what I call incidents, are really between ransomware and business email compromises, right? Those are really, the bucket, the shopping bucket for the cyber criminals. We see that in the amount of attacks that we handle every month. We also
Mhm.
see it from dark web and deep web intelligence that we gather of what the bad guys, the threat actors, like to collect and want to pay for. So they're looking for vulnerabilities into systems. They're looking to compromise the accounts. They're looking for any way that they can to, again,
Yes.
business email compromises where they can steal information and then
Mhm.
resell it so they can monetize that. Or they're looking
Yes.
for ways to be able to get into systems and redirect wires and payments, right?
Mhm.
So that's very important for them. That's really how they monetize their time. When it comes to ransomware is really taking a bit of a pivot over the past 6 to 9 months, where it's
Yes.
no longer just about uploading your the ransomware load and monetizing by getting ransom payments. Now we're seeing various groups like the Maze Group as an example,
Mhm.
where they're actually exfiltrating data and then shaming the clients into paying, right? So that's their leverage. Because
Yes.
many clients have kind of realized that as long as we have backups, we don't have to pay the bad guys. So now the bad guys go after the backups. They
Yes.
basically wipe them or encrypt them. And outside of that, they have a little extra leverage with having their data. And we've had several clients who kind of wanted to bluff the game and say, no, we're not going to pay you. And the bad guys publicized their names out there. And it was very difficult because some of them were publicly traded company and
Okay.
they lost sometimes 10, 20, $50 million overnight just because of the post.
Yes, yes. So they are changing their game. Like they are also continuously evolving the way they attack. And you have been involved in so many analysis of such type of incidents. So if there is a story, or if you'd like to share your experience in examining one such type of incident.
Absolutely. I mean, I've investigated close to 3,000 cases in my career so far.
Mhm.
So it's, we've seen quite a bit, and we see every month some new techniques and new events,
Yes.
and, they get very creative. I always say, of all the threat actors were gotten, you put them in a room and put their brains together, we would have world peace, right?
Yes.
Because they're very intelligent. They're just using it for the wrong things, right?
True.
One of them, You know, one of kind of the old tricks in the book is, of course, phishing, right? You mentioned that
Yes.
before. You know, phishing is a way to get somebody who's not as educated about what the threat actors are looking for to be able to click and get them into the network, right? One
Yes.
of the most, couple with, interesting techniques that we've seen over the past 30 days is emails going around, of course, in regards to COVID, right? And
Mhm.
coming back to work protocols, and this is from your boss, and we've even seen one that goes to somebody who's mid-level manager in an organization, and it's coming basically from their boss,
Mm.
and says, hey, you have violated some COVID rules, you're not allowed to do this, we really have to speak, please open up this document and call me. And
Mm.
it's the most amazing things, most people don't even think about twice. They want to say, hey, I didn't do anything wrong, right? I didn't breach any protocols. It's such a
Yeah.
sensitive and emotional time for everybody, and the bad guys really don't care, right? It's the same thing when they do fraud, when there's a
Mm.
natural disaster, they're emailing people from the Red Cross or from the supposedly from the government. Now they're leveraging COVID. They basically have no shame when it comes to this. It's all about utilizing human emotion and target them and to be able to get access to, right? So that's one that's been going around a lot.
Yes.
There's been another one that I think most people will be familiar with, where you get a voice recording that says, hey, this is again a go back to work protocol, please click and listen to the message so you
Yeah.
can get instructions. And I can tell you, everybody in very goodwill, because everybody want to help and everybody want to cooperate during this very sensitive and emotional time. People
Yes.
really don't think about it, so they just click, and you're letting the bad guys in, right? So
True, true. And this all calls for the need of more cyber awareness. Like
absolutely.
company. Yeah.
Cyber awareness is critical. I'll tell you. I mean, when we get engaged by clients, and this, and either pre or post attack, and their question is, what can we do? Do we have all those blinking lights, and do we install firewalls? And I say, all those things are very important. Having a proper disaster recovery type plan, right, and so on. But it's
Yeah.
critical to have cyber awareness training for your employees,
True.
because it's as important today as having all those blinking lights, because the human factor is more than 50% of the cause for all of the attacks out there, right? Because people are clicking on their
Yes.
phone or computer. So I agree 100%. Cyber awareness training is critical in today's age.
Agreed. Yeah. They are the weakest link, and at the same time, they are the first line of defense. True. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we sign off, parting comments to fresh graduates looking to make a career move in cybersecurity.
Absolutely. One of my biggest recommendations, first of all, follow your dreams and follow your heart, right? Don't listen to the people that say, oh, that's not a career you can do, and so on. This is the best time of their life. This is really the career path for many of the graduates. I often speak at school, and I always tell them, I wish I had somebody to talk to when I was getting into technology so long ago, right? So really my biggest advice is follow your dream, study, pay your dues. You do have to pay your dues. You have to study and be creative and be proactive. But this is really one of the best careers that you can choose today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights. And it's been a pleasure to have you as my guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.